Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 64 of Small Bites. 64 episodes on YouTube, as well as 64 episodes on wherever you listen to your podcasts. I am super proud of that accomplishment, and of course, extremely excited still to be celebrating the launch of Finding Your Blind Spots, 8 guiding principles to overcoming implicit bias in teaching. Now, if you were here last week and you made it into the Zoom, I would like to once again thank you for being a part of my tweeps, my inner professional learning family, I call them. I've actually made friends a couple of years ago on Twitter, and we've just kind of stuck together through thick and thin and pandemic, and yeah, they just showed up, and friends from home. My girlfriend Nita Porche Garcia, if you see on Instagram, you'll see I posted what she made a video behind the scenes. So if you're interested in seeing that, you can do that as well. And I would like to take a minute to thank all of the people who were on YouTube, whose faces you didn't get to see. That will be Katie and Merville and Leela, who asked the best questions, Kelly and Dana and Tracy and Mama and Keisha, aloha, and let's see, who else am I missing? Patrice, I'm sorry, Rice, I don't know who Patrice is, and Rice, and just anyway, thank you all, and I'm sure there were others who came who didn't leave a comment. I think Chris said he stopped in. Just thank you all for popping in and for being a part of that very special and momentous occasion and my birthday weekend. Again, you can see the pictures on Instagram. You can see the story up for a little while. I'll put it up as a highlight so you can get to see it again as well. But this week, I would like to cover one question that Katie asked, and it was actually my favorite question to answer because it has guided my work. And she said, well, she also said, I'm proud to know you and blessed, and thanks for pushing through fear. And let me find the question again. Is it scary putting this book out? That was the question. And the thought is that I live in Texas, and well, sometimes talking about race and gender and identity, those things are all scary, because before you can get to really talk about the things, people already have preconceived notions about what it is you're going to talk about, and a kind of defensive wall goes up. So yes, it is kind of scary. It's also scary putting your own words. There are quite a few personal anecdotes, so that means people will get to know me. People who I don't know will know me in a more intimate way than I can know them, and that's of course always a bit ooh. But I mean, when I released music back in my other lifetime as a career musician, it was the same feeling, just that feeling of vulnerability. So yes, Leela, definitely it's something scary about it, but I'm glad to be able to push through that and offer something, hopefully, that everybody can hear, if not agree with. Now, so that's all for the book. My big announcement, I will go with that right now. This is the second to the last episode of Small Bites on YouTube. Now, don't worry, do not fret. I will still be on Anchor and Spotify and Apple and Google and all of the wonderful platforms that you listen to podcasts on. But I do want to let you know that this is the second to the last one. I'll be ending just before Christmas, and all of you will have to migrate over to the podcast. Same kind of format, small bites, resources for educators, that kind of thing. But because I'm coming to an end, there are things that I would like to say. One, don't let this out, just because I will be out of your eye, don't let this work out of your eye. What I mean by that is, when George Floyd was killed, everyone was appalled, and there was an urgency about being more inclusive and working towards social justice, not only in our country, but across the globe. And then it got out of the headlines, and we started doing other things. And then there was backlash and some bad press about what civil rights looks like in this century. And people have kind of, put it on the back burner. I always say that because my baby is a young Black man and the world sees him as such and reacts to him as such, I can't afford to take any time off. So I'm simply asking you have, as of next week, 65 episodes and resources, including books and research papers and studies and websites. Please use those resources to guide your continued work as a more inclusive educator. And I am going to continue that work, but I do want to give you a thought before I give you our resources for this week. The word inclusive. If you think about it, I choose to include, I choose to exclude. So as we are becoming more inclusive educators, also remember that the burden is not on any one person, that this is a journey that we all have to take together. We are all kind of feeling our way forward. We are one generation out of the Jim Crow South. I know, because I'm that generation. So continue the work. Continue to use the resources that you find on Small Bites. Go back, pick up episodes. The Bias Collection is an excellent place to start or to share with friends or family. And I am going to, with that, give you your 5 resources for this week. This Friday 5 is my all-time favorite Friday 5. First of all, learning for justice. When I started Small Bites, it was called Teaching for Tolerance. And I think they probably made the evolution over the decades that we want to be more than tolerating diversity. We want to really advocate for equity and justice. So they are now learning for justice. And that is your ground. That's your ground zero. That's your starting place. That's your start here for all things diversity. They have standards. They have lesson plans for K-12, for higher ed. They have magazine articles. There are studies. They cover all kinds of race, gender, and identity issues so that you can really just be better at understanding what people who may not look like you are experiencing, how they're experiencing life, and you'll be better able to embrace the people who may or may not espouse your ideas and your worldview. All right, next, of course, the Harvard, if you have ever been in a course, Harvard's implicit bias tests. Now, you can read some white papers. There are some studies that dispute its validity. Still, I say it is an excellent starting point to see what your own biases and blind spots might be, because it's not a test it's not like a personality test. It's an actual test that you kind of have to, it's almost gamified. So there are lots of different ones. Pick a couple, and that's a great place to start to see where you might be missing some things that you want to dig up, process to be a more inclusive educator. Harvard Graduate School of Education also has quite a few teaching resources in the toolkit, and I've linked that in hedrick.com as well. School discipline. We cannot talk about equity unless we talk about school discipline and the disparities that pretty much go along race and gender lines. Boys, black girls, and everyone else kind of comes after that. Hispanics as well. Indigenous populations as well. So we want to look and see why populations that are less represented in our total population are overrepresented in disciplinary actions. So I have restorative justice practice as they are implemented in San Francisco's Unified School District. Principal Tam, if you're listening, Henry, are you out there too? I can't remember. At any rate, they have just done laid some really good foundational work, and you have their YouTube videos. There's a whole toolkit. I always use it. I use it in my own classwork, and I can really honestly say that when you do restorative justice well, it's not just letting kids off the hook. It really is just building deeper relationships and having them see how their choices affect a larger community, and it really binds the kids not only to you in a classroom and a teacher-student relationship, but it binds them to one another and to the learning community as a whole. Finally, if you're going to really, really miss small bites after you visited all the plethora of resources that are there, I would like you to take a couple of free courses. Both Yale and Harvard have this wonderful site where you can actually take free courses from their professors. You can also read and use the 1619 curriculum. I say that because even if you live in a place where the district says, nope, absolutely not, we're restricting funding if you use it, it's great to have multi-perspectivity. And as we are learning, the history books that we've grown up with are not necessarily, no, they are not inclusive of all perspectives. And there are a lot of narratives that are missing. So the 1619 curriculum will give you another look at history from another side, from another population, from people who may not look like you. Additionally, my last three for this week, all-time favorites: PBS, Learning Media, Smithsonian, just history and culture. They have amazing sites for all populations. I love them so much. And the National Park Service has primary source documents. They have a wonderful collection that you would not expect from the Park Service because you think, well, let's go to Yellowstone. Nope. Wonderful resource. So those are great places to start if you want to build a cache of research materials for your students to research narratives that may not be centered in textbooks. All right, once again, next week, come and join me. That's the last big blowout on YouTube as a series. I am sure that I will greet you from time to time. But our weekly podcast will be coming out on Monday mornings at 5 a.m. in time for drive time. That's 5 a.m. Central. And you'll be able to find that wherever podcasts are heard. So go to hedrick.com. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Continue to share the channel because, again, 65 episodes, a whole lot of that times 5. It's a whole lot of resources. And I will see you next week one more time. How do you eat an elephant? One small bite at a time. Thanks so much for listening.